How many of you have ever tried journaling? So have you ever tried journaling at all? Just say yes or no. Okay, it's not that bad. Okay, so we've got a few yeses and we've got a couple of nos. So for me, I wanted to highlight this today because I've been using this recently to help with what's been going on. And journaling for me was a massive, massive, massive helper when I was at my lowest. So I'm very open about this again. 2009, everything happened with my dad, and then 2010, 2011, just completely was just distracting myself, wearing that mask, pretending that I was all okay. And then sort of 2011 was when I actually went and got some help, and that was the first person that helped me, a lady called Anne, and she was my therapist. So I was vocalizing, but what Anne was amazing at as well is she was like, just write stuff down, whatever comes to your mind. And very quickly, I then started to journal just naturally. You're writing down what's going on, and then you start to journal just naturally. And I'm not a counselor in any way or a therapist in any way, but I also believe, or I also know that a lot of counselors, therapists try and encourage people that are struggling with their mental health to journal. And there's lots and lots of benefits. So the first benefit is the obvious one, which is, of course, it helps us relieve stress. And I've got these that I want to show you guys. Hopefully you can see them. A couple of options. And I want to kind of break it down, what helps me, and hopefully it might help you too. So it relieves stress, it relieves anxiety, and it can help with your mood. Now, I'll explain why, but basically, for me, writing down what's going on in here allows me to rationalize these. So, we all have 50, 70,000 thoughts a day. So it's very, very busy. Now, if your mind's like mine, it's always racing. And sometimes when it's up here, it's harder to rationalize, and it's harder to shut it off. Now, what I've started to find with time is when I was writing down those how I was feeling, when I was writing down whatever was going on, when I was writing down my challenges, it allowed me to almost look at it from a different perspective. And I've spoken about it before. So as soon as it's here, I'm almost looking at it like it's someone else's problem. And I can read it, and I can start to rationalize it, and I can start to think of solutions as well. And I can start to say to myself, actually, is that much of an issue? My mind's telling me that it's a massive issue, but now I'm looking at this and I'm rationalizing this. Actually, this isn't a huge issue, so I can deal with this. It's fine. And I always kind of thought to myself, if you're really good at giving other people advice, but you're not very good at taking it yourself, but this journaling is almost like that, because now you're seeing this as almost if it's someone else's problems, and you can almost try and rationalize it. So it kind of really helped me with sort of stress, dealing with anxiety, depression, desperately need a haircut, dealing with being vain. No, and then the other thing that it helped with was optimism. Now, a big part of the journaling that I do, which I'll show you in a minute, is writing down gratitude. So maybe it's 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for in the morning, and then maybe 2 or 3 things that you're grateful for in the evening. So I got into a habit of doing that. And very quickly, when I started to do more of that, gratitude became more of a natural practice for me. So you probably saw when I was talking about my granddad, I naturally direct to, I'm grateful that he's had a long life. I'm accepting of it. I'm grateful that, I'm doing all that I can. So very quick, and not very quickly, it took a long time, but naturally I almost feel gratitude in situations where sometimes maybe the old me wouldn't have been able to do. And I talk about, again, my dad, and my dad's been 11 years, and it never was as easy as I always kind of explain. But now I feel a lot of gratitude towards not what happened, but I'm grateful that I had an amazing dad, for 18 years. Like that's the way I see it. And of course, I wish my dad was here every single day. I wish that never happened to us, but I'm grateful for that, right? And I think we naturally then can start to feel a bit more gratitude. So part of my journaling exercise, and I'll show you, is writing down what I'm grateful for. And that's been a massive, massive help for me too. So it helps with optimism. The other thing that it also helps with, and I don't know the exact studies behind it, I looked it up, and I was on a Red Cross webinar as well, and someone mentioned it. They also can help with physical recovery and to help with your immune system. So I don't want to kind of misquote any studies at all, but you might be able to find it. There was a study that they did where patients were recovering from a physical illness, and the ones that journaled recovered quicker than the ones that didn't. And now I'm not saying again that journaling is going to have that massive impact on people, but there's been a lot of studies into it. So there's a huge amount of benefits to journaling, but the question is, how do we start? So there's a couple of ways. Now, if you've never done journaling before, if you have, you still might learn something from what I'm about to share. But the first one is, I would just say, elephant. I would just say, just start. That's the first tip that I would give you guys. Just start, because I used to overthink what I was about to write. Like, I would grab my pen, I would grab my plain sort of piece of paper, and I would sit there, and I'd be like, "What are you doing, Paul? What are you doing? Like this? You've got a diary. You're 21 years old. You've got a diary. Imagine your friends saw this. What would they say?" And I'd be like, "Right, what do I write?" And I would start to write, and then I'd be like, "No, I must be doing this wrong. Like this can't be the right way of doing it. There must be a better way of doing it." And then I would just do this: click the pen off, close the book, put the book down. Now that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is just start. And there was a couple of things that I used to do to help me get into it. The first one was just write down maybe what I had for breakfast, maybe what I had for dinner last night. So I would just say, what did I have for dinner last night? I've forgotten. Oh, I had pasta for dinner last night. And then that sounds cheesy, but it kind of gets me. It was cheesy, the pasta. It gets me into the writing about what I've been experiencing. And then very naturally, I could say, today I'm feeling anxious about this webinar or whatever it is that I'm struggling with. And then I'm just letting my hand do this. So it's not structured. It's just write whatever comes into your mind. So you're just kind of writing down as much as you possibly can. It doesn't have to flow. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't matter if you ramble. It doesn't matter if your handwriting's bad. It's like, just write. Because for me, we always talk about your mental health. Talk about your mental health. Tell people how you're feeling. But really, it's a struggle when you've never done that before. And equally, it's a struggle when you don't have that person that you feel safe and comfortable to talk to. Now, I feel safe talking to my little elephant, right? So I can sort of write down what's going on in here. Now, it probably doesn't have the same effect as physically saying it aloud and talking it to someone, but writing it down is still me expressing my emotions. It's still me expressing how I'm feeling. So that's kind of where I started. And then I wanted to kind of step it up a little bit. And the next thing that I did was got myself this is a little bit battered here, a guided journal. Now, there's lots of these out there. There's one called the 5-minute journal. This is called the self journal. This one I really like. There's a BU journal. It's a guy called Luke Ambler, who's a friend of mine. He's got the BU journal for adults, but he's also got the BU journal for kids. And you can kind of see here, hopefully you can see it in the webcam. They do lots and lots of different exercises. But equally, it's a kind of daily journal that kids can do. And I actually want to get my little boy to do this again, because he started to do it and then he stopped. We all do that. We all get in habits and get out of habits. But you put the date. So we would put obviously today. Buzzword of the day. Write a buzzword or any word that sums up your day. So you'll do this at the end. And then it said, what made you laugh or smile today? And what did they do? Who made you laugh and smile today? And what did they do? What was the hardest part of your day? What do you want to play tomorrow? Then the next day, who did something nice for you today? What kind of thing will you do for someone else tomorrow? What are you looking forward to tomorrow? And then you've got a mood board. Write or draw how you're feeling today and explain why. Now, I did a couple of videos with my eldest boy, live streams, and we spoke about this. And he said his way of expressing sometimes how he's feeling is through drawing. Now, for me, like, that just doesn't work. I'm a terrible drawer. But like, for him, this is a good exercise because he can start to draw how he's feeling, and that would help. Now, the self journal is this one here. So if you Google self journal, you should be able to find it. There's lots of different guided journals, but basically the first couple of pages walks through, how do you use this journal, the importance of kind of setting a goal and reminding yourself of the goal, etc. And there's lots of kind of like different ideas around how you can use this, but the main bulk of it is let me show you a use example like this. So firstly, on this page, you've got the day broken down into hours. Now, this is up to you depending on how you plan your day. But I found this is quite beneficial of kind of when do I do what I need to do. So for example, when do I work out? When do I do this webinar? When do I maybe, take, calls with my team or whatever it is? And you kind of plan out your day by the hour. If I'm honest, eventually I didn't like this because if I don't know what it is, if I missed something on here and it messed up like this, I would get annoyed. So that's why I didn't really like it. And I felt like I was putting too much pressure on myself. If I don't finish this by 12 o'clock, then, it creates a little bit of stress and pressure, if I'm honest. So that wasn't very beneficial for me long term. But this is what I liked. So you can kind of see here. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. This morning, I am grateful for. Oh, wow, look at that. My health, my freedom, and the fact we're having a baby scan today. When was this? Well, considering my little boy that baby scan was about is now 4 next month. This was obviously a long time ago. Then you've got my goals. So what's my goals? Okay. And even here, 4 years ago, to over deliver value on the shift. Now the shift was a product that I was creating to help people with their mental health. And I really want to over deliver value with that. Then you've got a quote. So it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. Warren Buffett. And then you've got today's targets, 3 targets. What are your main priorities that you want to achieve today? Then, oh, wow, this is a good one, guys. I'm going to get emotional. The wins of the day. So at the end of the day, you write down your awesome training for the shift. And then baby boy, I'm super happy. So this was the day that we found out that we were having a boy. Don't show my work. Don't show my wife that because I said work comes before that. Don't show my son either. No, I'm only joking. And then I've put nice family time in there as well. So another win of the day is that I obviously spent some family time on that day. Then lessons learned. I can do anything. It's a bit of a strange one. And then stop worrying what people think. So that's another lesson that I probably reminded myself a lot over that period of time because that was a big problem that I was facing. And then tonight I'm grateful for my house, my family, and my baby boy on the way, and my mum. So this then allows you to have a little bit of structure each day. So each day you would then obviously, as you can see, just kind of go through every page like so. And for me, having that structure then kind of helped me do it more on a daily, regular basis. So that's 2 ways of doing it. The first way is just writing. The second way is having maybe like a structured journal, and obviously utilizing the steps within that journal. You can also get apps on your phone. So you can get the 5-minute journal on your phone. You can get plenty of other stuff on your phone as well, where you might just journal on your phone. Now, I'm more of a pen and paper kind of guy, especially when I'm writing down ideas or I'm writing down how I'm feeling. I'd rather do that than on my phone. But again, you can use the apps on your phone, which are, of course, there's a few of them that are free too. Now, the final way of doing it, guys, and I want to hear some of your feedback, is use books, okay? So have any of you guys ever read this? Just say yes or no. The Daily Stoic. Let me know if you've read this by Ryan Holiday. Okay, so Mandy has, George has, the rest haven't. Are you guys finding this helpful, by the way? Just say yes or no. Like, are you finding this helpful? Do you think journaling might be something that you'd try? Excellent. I saw loads of no's then, and I was like, I need my words of affirmation, right, guys? So with the Daily Stoic or any books, especially these kind of books, right? So I don't know what you want to call them. You could call them, self-help books, self-improvement books, whatever you want to call them. So with these books, I got into a real habit of reading them, from cover to cover. And I've spoken about this before. But with these kind of books, what we could do is we can kind of pick them up and we can, Richard, I like that. Yeah, I think she'd like that. We can pick them up and we can read a couple of pages. Now, in the mornings, picking a book up, reading a couple of pages, and then I'm wary of the internet is extremely slow. So I'm going to try and speed this through. You can pick up these books. You can read a couple of pages, And the main thing for these kind of books, for me, the self-help books, is take action on them. You know, we can read and read and read and read and read from cover to cover, cover to cover, cover to cover. My dad read a lot of self-help books. You know, I read a lot of self-help books when I was probably, you know, still at my lowest, because I was reading them cover to cover or cover to cover, and I wasn't actually taking action on them. So another way of journaling that I like, and that is now what a 4-year-old does in your books, a 3-year-old does in your books, as you can see, is the thing I like about the Daily Stoic is, as you can hopefully see, it has a lesson every day. Now, sometimes I would maybe read more than one lesson on a day. Okay. Now, a lot of these lessons arise from Stoicism, and there's lots of lessons to be learned. Now, again, it depends on if you like that kind of stuff. But for me, I really, really like this book. Now, what I started to then do is, let's say we do April 7th. And I would read this one here: expect to change your opinions. It says, these are two things that must be rooted out in human beings: arrogant opinion and mistrust. Arrogant opinion expects that there is nothing further needed, and mistrust assumes that under the torrent of circumstance, there can be no happiness. So what I do is I read a page, I grab a pen, I grab a book, and then I write something that I've maybe learned from that one page. Or I'll read a couple of pages. I'll grab a pen, grab a paper, and I would write a couple of things of how that's relevant to me, what I've taken from it, what I've learned, and maybe what I can action. And in a way, that kind of gets us doing two things at once. You know, we're doing a bit of reading, which of course is great for, you know, our mental health. It's time when we're present in the book, but at the same time, we're then implementing a bit of journaling with it too. So there's plenty of ways of doing it, but kind of just summarizing, the benefits are huge. The biggest challenges that you'll all probably face is it will feel a bit strange at the beginning. You know, you'll feel like you might need a pink padlock on it because it's, you know, your diary, or you need to hide it away from your family, or you need to do it when no one's looking, and you're going to sit there, and, you know, it's going to be a bit strange at first, but really once you stick with it and try and embed it into your daily routine, it's going to be massively helpful. So embedding it in your daily routine, if I was you, if you've got a morning routine, try and embed it in then. So for example, if I get up, I make a coffee, I spend a bit of time with my family, and then maybe I'm about to do some exercise. Before I exercise, I could grab a pen, grab a piece of paper, and just set a timer on my phone for 5 minutes and just do 5 minutes of journaling. Then I do my exercise and so on. So instead of saying to yourself, I need to do this every day, and trying to figure out a time to do it, I would just embed it into your existing routine. Or lunchtime, if you take a similar lunchtime, but, you know, when you finish for lunch, before you eat, you know, you might want to do a bit of journaling. Or once you finish eating, you might want to do a bit of journaling then. You know, when you're getting ready for bed, or when you have your cup of tea at night, when you get yourself a tin of biscuits and you start eating your tea and biscuits, then, you know, you might want to do a bit of journaling then. For me, developing habits, that's the best way of doing it. You know, almost embedding it into the habits that you're already doing. So then there's a really good book called The Power of Habit. When you do the tea, when you do the biscuits, then you're like journaling. And with time, obviously that becomes a lot easier. But attaching it to almost your daily habits helps a lot as well. So guys, do you have any questions or anything that you want to share maybe about journaling? Again, use the chat box. Like I say, hopefully you did find this helpful. Mandy's read his book, Ego is the Enemy. Yeah, I really like that book as well. And that book is so timely right now, right, Mandy? So definitely, Ryan Holiday's got a book called Ego is the Enemy. Rich is going to buy the book for the journal for his 8-year-old daughter. And yesterday I was in my gym stuff, was up with the kids doing some work, and then had, you know, a call about my granddad. So down to my granddad's, you know, it's now 11 o'clock, still want to get my workout in, but now I've got stuff to do. So I literally just when I left my granddad's, I ran for about 5 minutes, right? And got back in the car, and then come home, and then my wife was doing a small little workout. So I did, you know, 10 minutes with her at the end. It was just like a kind of HIIT workout. So I did 15 minutes. I set myself the task of going for a long sort of hour and a half run today. And your mind would naturally beat yourself up for not achieving that. But equally, I've done 10, 15 minutes. You know, I've still developed a bit of a habit now when it comes to exercise. So it's the same with journaling. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to do like an hour, to do more than what you're going to be able to do. Just try, you know, just try 2 lines today, and then, you know, 5 lines tomorrow, you know, a couple of minutes the next day. That's the way that I would try and recommend you guys do it as well. Kate says she loved it. Going to get starting getting back into a routine. Nice. Erin says, thanks, Paul. I need to go on another call, but that was very beneficial. No worries at all. Guys, I'm going to sign out as well. Is there any questions that you want to ask me before we do finish? If you haven't got any questions, just say no. But hopefully you found this helpful, and by the sounds of it, you did. George says, if work dominates the day, do you think it's better to journal when you get up or before going to bed? I would try and do both, George, because I think those two times are really important times. Like when we wake up is a massively important time because it kind of, the way we set ourselves up for the day is important. So I'd always recommend journaling in the morning, but equally, you know, before we go to bed, before we rest is a really important time as well. So if I was you, again, it's, as I say, just a minute maybe in the morning, a minute at night. I would probably prefer to do that than, you know, 5 minutes in the morning and not at the night, because I think you can reflect back on that busy work day as well if you can journal in the evening. What I'm going to do, and you guys have inspired me, is like, I haven't really used this. This was a book that I got given by a company that I did a couple of talks for. I haven't used this as far as I'm aware, no, although my eldest boy has claimed it. He's wrote his name in the front. But I'm going to put this next to my bed, and the other one I obviously was going to leave on my office. So maybe next to my bed with a pen before I go to bed, I can just write a couple of things down. So it's kind of just making it easier for us to do it. So George, you've helped me with that one. Suzanne says, I love doing my journal, but I have problems to find a time and place to do it. So I like your idea of embedding it with a coffee break. Yeah, nice. Excellent. No worries, Janine. No worries, Katie. No worries, Mandy. Everyone enjoy the rest of your week. Looking forward to next week's session as well. If you guys have got access to the app as well, I know some of you have, then, you know, we've got some really exciting new features coming and a lot more content as well. So if you're on the app and your company is obviously, you know, subscribed, then we've got some really cool kind of content coming very soon as well. But really appreciate all of your time. Anything you need, once again, email is paul@everymindatwork.com. Just drop me an email at any time. I'm happy to help as much as I possibly can. But guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all next week. All right.